Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
What's going on, everybody? It is Friday night. It's 8:13 p.m. This is being recorded on Friday night, and I can't wait. I've been looking forward to our time, you and me, where we can hang out and listen to some awesome tunes. We're gonna go back to the van, and we're gonna recap the week. We're gonna talk some video games. We're gonna talk some music. It's gonna be a great time, and this week in particular, I've been looking forward to. It's been a tough week. I'm ready to unwind. Played quite a bit of games. Yes, indeedy. All right, we're gonna do some Bloodwave this week. Bloodwave is somebody that the vaporwave forums seem to herald as like one of the great vaporwave artists. And if you decide to look this guy up, the O's in Blood are spelled with the number 0. So, okay, all right, good music though, really good music. This is from the album New Visuals, which you can go get for free. It's another free album. The song's called Cocktail. You guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Goodness. It's got a good beat to it. I dig it. It's not quite fast enough for me to work out to, but it's really good Friday night music. Friday night in the office. Throw that on while I dig into some video games. All right, so let's do this, boys and girls. If I think back to the beginning of the week, what did we have now? Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. It's the Vancast. It is 6:20 in the morning. It's nice out today. Something happened, and I lost a bunch of footage. Back to the van. That hasn't been recording the whole time. Oh, man. That just breaks my heart. Good morning, everybody. It's 6:30 in the morning on Monday. It's the Vancast. I'm driving into work. It's nice and brisk outside. It actually feels really good. Coming off of a really cold string of days. Also, as we push closer to the spring, it's getting lighter earlier and earlier. The sun's coming out early, so yeah, we got a little bit of sun out right now, which is pretty good. I'm used to the pitch black drives, so it'll be nice to put that behind me, get a little sunshine before I go into the office. I recorded about 15 minutes, almost an entire Vancast, and it wasn't recording, which is pretty difficult for me. Let's see. So now I'm going to try and do what never works, and that's tell the same stories twice. It never works. It never does. I listen to, well, actually it's been a while, but one of my favorite podcasts is Gilbert Gottfried's Super Amazing Colossal podcast. And he has a lot of old-time Hollywood stars on. And one of the things they always say is whenever he gets in the same room or gets whoever his guest is going to be on the phone, first thing he tells them is, don't say anything, don't tell me anything, I don't want to hear it, don't say a single word until we're on the air. And the reason why is because whatever is said, you can't say again. And that's something I've tried to do in the past and it never works. But here we go, let's try it again. I did have a good time over the weekend, it's pretty cool. I'm ready to go back to work, but there was some good games that were played. I played Torchlight 2 with Hemrock. We had 2 sessions, one really long one, and then we played a little bit last night. Torchlight 2 has been a lot of fun. That's a game that, when it came out, for whatever reason, I didn't give it to do. I think I only had about 10 hours or so into it. So now that I'm playing through it again, it feels like it's new all over again, which has been pretty awesome. Pretty awesome indeed. We're playing through a modded version, but, ooh, hang on a second. Woo! Is that ice? I guess it's colder than I thought. We're playing through a modded version, but I'm trying to remember the name of the mods, and I did the same thing earlier this morning. Torchlight 2 is modded very easily. It's got the Steam Workshop, and in order to play multiplayer mods, you just, make sure you're subscribed to the same ones. Bada boom, bada bing, you're in. Hemrock sent me a screenshot. He was like, this is my mod selection, just pick the same ones as me, and then there you go. So that's pretty much how it went down. It's been a lot of fun. It's a really simple game. A lot of collecting of loot and min-maxing of stats. But it feels good. It feels good. It is what I would classify as a comfy game. That's another thing we talked about, Hemrock and I, which games we thought were the most comfy. And this was like a top 10 list that I had in the works. I don't know if I read this off on the air, but I always thought this would be like a really good top 10 list. The top 10 most comfy games. I can tell you right off, the contenders would be Minecraft. It is a good one. And my personal favorite comfy game is Morrowind, which I think is the comfy of all comfy games. And Hemrock, forgive me if I'm replaying an entire conversation you and I had together. But those are just like the picks that come right to mind. I know there's more than that. At one point, I had a text file on my computer of top 5 to top 10 lists. And I would just go in and adjust them, every couple of days. And none of that ever saw the light of day, which kind of sucks. So that was my weekend. That was pretty much the extent of the video games that I played. I'm still running a play-by-email game of Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri with Hemrock and Darabka. I got to turn in on that, which is pretty cool. And I'm on my way back to the office. Here's another one for you. I finished the Tiger Score. Tiger Score issue 2 was released this morning. I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfect because more than once I was playing games that were related to what was going to be the magazine and I lost my scores. Specifically, this happened with Solar Striker. I lost like several runs. So now in the final issue, there's only 2 scores for Solar Striker and they're both pretty easily beatable. That sucks. It really sucks. But it's a lesson learned the hard way. I just have to control S more. So, I don't know. My computer's been having this issue where the D button will get stuck. And I can't stop it once it starts. I don't know what does it. I think it might be one of the macro keys, because I have a quote-unquote gaming keyboard. And the idea is, on the left-hand side, there's an additional 18 function keys. So you got F1 to F12 up top, and then I have G1 to G, I don't know, whatever. However many keys there are on the left-hand side. And then each one you can program to do like a macro. I have never used those keys. I tried a couple times. I could never quite make it work. They never did what I wanted them to do. For example, in Dead by Daylight, when the killer stabs you and picks you up to bring you to the hook, you got to press A and D as fast as you can. All right, no problem. This should be pretty easy. I opened up the manager. I selected a key. I said, all right, key, I want you to press A and D and do it this many times per second. Didn't work at all. Big piece of junk keyboard. I hate it. The keys light up, which I think is cool, but the macros is stupid junk, and I think now it's causing problems. It's a function that's never actually helped me even once. I mean, another thing that it's supposed to be good for is if you're playing Counter-Strike, especially the older ones, are famous for people would have these long buy commands, B to get into the menu, and then 1 to get into the primary guns, and then a number for whatever it is. It'd be like B1, 2, and then B5, so that they could buy their gun, buy their ammo, and all that. So that big long string. So a nice macro key would work well. You could program it to press exactly the keys that you'd press very quickly, right? Doesn't work. Does not work at all, which really sucks. So that's been causing problems. That, along with the lost data for the Tiger score, have been getting in the way a little bit. But I mean, small complaints. We're talking about like, oh, I got to play a ton of hours of this awesome game. Yeah, but I had to reboot once. You know what I mean? I guess they would say first world problems. But that did have an effect on the Tiger score. I lost some scores for Solar Striker. So now Solar Striker's only got 2 scores, which is a drag. I'm really bummed about the first 15 minutes of the Vancast going down the toilet too, because I feel like that was going really well, and now I'm just angry. Angry and driving to work on Monday morning. But you know what? That's all right. I had a good time. Yeah, you know what else happened this weekend? This is something else I talked about that didn't get caught on the air. It's my birthday on Wednesday. So by the time you're hearing this, my birthday's already come and gone. So that's a good time. So this past weekend was kind of like my birthday weekend. So I took the family out and we went to Cracker Barrel. Nothing too fancy, but the kids really like it there. Get a bite to eat. Everybody has their regular. It's a good time. So while I was at Cracker Barrel, I was looking around, and Cracker Barrel sells vinyl records now. And I kind of knew that. Like, I think I saw a vinyl rack in passing at Cracker Barrel once, but this was the first time I stopped and started flipping through the records. And they've got they've got vinyl records that are like exclusive to Cracker Barrel, which doesn't surprise me too much, except that they've got like Disney vinyl records that are exclusive to Cracker Barrel. All right, soundtrack records for the classic Disney cartoon movies, and picture discs as well. We used to collect Disney memorabilia quite a bit in my house. This peaked out at about 2006, 2007. Now at that time, there was no Netflix streaming. If there was, it wasn't what it is now. DVDs were still like the primary format for watching a movie at home. And my wife was really interested in collecting this series of DVDs called Disney Treasures. They would release them like once or like 2 in a year or so, and they came in these metal tins. It was like her favorite thing. And she was like, even if I don't know whatever the set is about, if it's about some cereal I've never seen before, I want to get all the Disney Treasures. I said, okay. So we got every one that came out, and I think we might have only missed, because I know she doesn't have the whole set, but I think she only missed like one, maybe. And those were pretty cool, because we still have them, and a couple of them are pretty rare now. I don't think any of them are big money, but I think if you want to get like the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit set, then that's going to be like $50 or something. I don't know. I haven't looked any of this stuff up in a long time. Their DVDs, they were cool, but following the conclusion of the Disney Treasures set, there was a spin-off where they were doing it with comic books. The idea was it would be a large collected comic of like old, they released one, and it was like old Scrooge McDuck comics mixed with like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and all that stuff. That was all really cool. I saw that and I was like, this is dope. And following that, the second volume was supposed to be Donald Duck, a big Donald Duck collected comic book. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want, man. So I ordered it. It was like $20. I pre-ordered it anyway. And then the order sat for several months, but then Disney pulled the plug and they shelved the comic and it never came out. So my money was refunded and I was crushed. So I think collecting Disney memorabilia was never quite the same for me. It lost a lot of its luster, especially since we go to Disney World every couple of years. So during those weekends when we're down at Disney World, we're like bathed in it. But looking at these vinyl records of the classic cartoon soundtracks was the first time, I think, since the mid-2000s, where I was like, you know what, that's a piece of Disney memorabilia I wouldn't mind owning. So a little blast from the past there for me at the Cracker Barrel. So we'll see. I'm a bit excited about my birthday. I somehow have the feeling it's going to be not too much that's gaming related, because it usually isn't. But birthdays are fun. Even now into my 30s, because I'll be turning 35, I still think birthdays are a positive thing. I think this is about the time in a man's life where birthdays start to make people panic. Men look at their wives and they say, "Oh man, I'm gonna die first." But you know what? It's all right. However good. First of all, here's the thing: if your birthday's coming and you're not feeling good about it, I want you to know that the damage is done. Okay? It's not like the day before your birthday you're super young and then your birthday hits and then immediately all at once you're super old. No, you've been getting older all year. That's what's happening. So when I turn 35 in a couple of days, all the damage that 365 days have done is already sunk into my body. And I'm okay with that, because I hated being a kid. Being a kid was the worst thing in planet Earth. My heart really goes out to children, especially children these days, when everybody's fighting over how children should think. It's like, hey, I have thoughts of my own. No, you're 13. I don't want to hear it. Go to your room. Do your chores. Do what you're told. I hated it. Being a kid was the worst thing ever. So because of that, I like getting older. I think I think it can be fun. So, try and keep it positive, just like everything else in your life, man. It can be negative if you let it, but with just a little bit of effort, you can make it really positive. And that's how I think of birthdays. And I think that's about it. If I were back at home, what would I be doing? What game would I be playing? It's a little game I like to play when I close these van casts. And I gotta be honest, I feel like it's gonna be a good day at work today, but part of me would like to be back in the studio right now. Probably playing with the Pocket Operator arcade, which is what it's called, the little drum machine I got from Teenage Engineering that uses like a chiptune sound engine to working with like a simple sequencer. Probably playing with that, to be perfectly honest. Just sitting in my office. Or you know what else would be fun? Loading up the original Torchlight and playing that while listening to tapes. Torchlight 2 I saved for when I play with Hemrock. But I started muddling through the original Torchlight here and there when it's just me, and that's been a good time too. There will be plenty of time for that on the evenings this week. For now, I'm gonna push forward and finish my day at work. All right, that was take 2 of the Vancast for Monday morning. I hope it came out okay. The first one that didn't record, I felt was really strong. This one, I feel like it was a little wishy-washy. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, where it's like I'm telling a story, and midway through telling the story, I'm like, did I tell this already this morning? Oh man. It's like I'm not sure if I sound like a crazy person or if everything's coming out in a coherent manner. And then you get that feeling, and then it's like, well, if I sound crazy, I guess I'm crazy. I guess there's worse things in the world. Well, all right, boys and girls, I'm going to charge into work Monday morning. I'm going to own that place. I'm going to knock Monday dead. So when I go to bed this Monday evening, oh, look at all this traffic. Oh, whatever. I'll see you guys back in the studio. Yeah, all right. So I did actually make it to work that day, and it was fine. I knocked it out, did what I had to do, and I was able to go home and hang my hat knowing that I put in a good day's work. All right. That said, we're going to go back and play another track from Bloodwave. This is from the New Visuals album. It's a staple in the Vaporwave community, so I'm told. I got a hold of it recently. I've been really digging it. This is called, this is the 6th track. It's just called Girl. Real simple. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. We don't have a lot of time this week, boys and girls. Just want to take a minute to thank the Patreon sponsors, Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, and Durabka. You guys, thanks for giving up your resources to make sure TCR comes back every week. I promise that the music review is coming up right after this episode, so check Patreon to get that supporter-only content. All right, we got to get right back to the van just to make sure I have time for everything. Good morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It's Tuesday morning, 6:24. Sun's just getting ready to peek up over the trees, and it's cold, man. Had a nice brisk morning yesterday. It felt good, but this morning, cold weather's back. I'm not quite ready to let go yet for the year. There was a new release over on Battle of the Bits. I don't know if it was late last night or early this morning, but it was a classical music in chip. Classical music done with a chip format, chip and MIDI. So I would say it sounds more classical music than it does chip. But Battle of the Bits is always releasing good stuff. And again, the way they do their releases is it's free now, but the as soon as the next release comes out, then it'll have a price tag. So what I did was I paid the $1 to have it added to my Bandcamp library, so I'll always have access to it. That's a big one to do when they do their huge releases, because they'll release these albums with like 50 songs, and then they'll release something small like a few weeks later, just so that they can add a $5 price tag. Not just so, but if you pay that $1, then you never have to go back and pay that $5 price tag. You always get to hold on to it. So that's what I did. I did that this morning, and then I also downloaded a couple of... I needed some more music for the car, so I got a couple of the older Chiptunes Equals Win compilations, 4 and 5, I think, to be specific. And I also downloaded an album from Rush Jet 1. Rush Jet 1's an old classic. There was, I remember there being Rush Jet 1 albums available for download on 8-Bit Peoples, like 10 years ago when I was first getting into chiptunes. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to listening to that. I downloaded all those albums and I sat them on my desktop, and I never did anything with them. They're still sitting there right now. I don't like messing with cables in the car, so I still tend to just burn a CD with MP3s on it and then listen that way. But I didn't actually burn the disc. So I got all this music together and it's just sitting in a folder. What can I say? I had what, an hour to play games this morning, and of that hour I got up a little late, so it was really cut down to 45 minutes. And then I sat down and played the original Torchlight, which is really slow going. My goodness. I don't know, man. I started playing through the original Torchlight on the hardest difficulty. I wonder if that might have been a mistake, because it is slow going. I can't remember the name of the class, but I played as the lady who, the traditional rogue type, who uses ranged weapons, bows and arrows and stuff. Having already played through as the warrior type, you get an achievement, for doing a playthrough with each character archetype. So playing through as the ranged weapon person, and then if I ever play through it a third time, I'll play through as the mage type, alchemist type, whatever it is. So I've been playing on the hardest difficulty. I actually died a couple times. I died again this morning, and but it's been fun. It's been really slow going. So like every time I trade up a piece of equipment for one more defense point or one more attack point, it's like a big deal, because it makes such a huge difference trying to get through the monsters. Some of the easier difficulties, it's like you reach a point where nothing can touch you. So it's like, you stop looking closely at all the gear, right? You'll have a helmet that gives you 3 defense, and there's another helmet that also gives you 3 defense, but you have to carefully weigh the bonus percentages that come along with it. This one's 3 defense with 7% magic armor. This one's 3 defense with 7% fire resistance. Well, which damage modifier is more applicable? Magic damage, I guess. If you're playing on an easier difficulty, you're not making those kinds of decisions. It's just like, yeah, okay, they're both 3 defense, they both got some blue writing under it, we'll just go with whatever. So it's been cool. Let's see. Let me make sure this is actually recording, so I don't do what I did yesterday and lose a bunch of time. I got scores in from Retro Kaiser. Good old Kaiser Sunday, not an ice cream. He's playing 1942 on the NES. he said he sat down with that game twice and sent in his current high score, just his starter entry. I don't have the score in front of me, but you're looking at 50k plus. And if I remember right, that means you're going to have to beat the first level in order to beat that score. So, Ace Pilots out there, I hope you guys are, I hope you guys are getting it ready. So that's pretty cool, man. It's cool to get a 1942 score submitted. There we go. Got to get the heat on a little bit, man. It's cold. Very cold. It's Tuesday. Tomorrow's my birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I get to telework, so I won't be driving in, so I'm probably not going to do a van cast tomorrow. You know what I haven't done in a while, guys? I had been buying reproduction cards for the Sega Genesis. Last year, maybe 2 years ago. And if you're not familiar, the repros for the Sega Genesis, for whatever reason, those are the cheapest repros you can buy. You're looking at getting a cartridge shipped for like $450. You can get pretty cheap repros in the Game Boy, but you're not going to get them that cheap. Super Nintendo, cheapest I ever saw something, it was about excuse me, a little under $7. I think that's what I paid for my Castlevania 4. I got a repro of that game, and it was something like $7, give or take. Yeah, so the Genesis repros, and specifically what it was about the Genesis repros that kept me coming back was the Sonic the Hedgehog repros, because it's not just that the Genesis repros are cheap, it's that there's a lot of repros or a lot of ROM hacks for the Sonic the Hedgehog games that have really cool repros. And my kids took a specific liking to Sonic Heroes because you can play as all three characters at once, Knuckles, Sonic, and Tails. My daughter really likes that one. Oh, we were flipping through the cartridges yesterday, and I was like, man, I wonder if there's any other cool Sonic repros that I don't have worth getting. So part of me kind of wants to check that out, but we'll see. I also kind of feel like I don't have the money right now, but it's just like a thought that crossed my mind. Perhaps rather than ordering repros, I'll just set up Fusion on my computer, play the ROM hacks that way. Because the ROM hacking world, never ceases to amaze me. It never does, man. The stuff you can play out there is just absolutely staggering. All right, what are we doing now? 9 minutes and 25 seconds. All right. So if I were back home, what would I play? Oh my gosh, guys. I had such fun playing Torchlight this morning. What I really want to do is play Torchlight 2 with Hemrock. I've been enjoying that. Barring that, I'd go back to the original Torchlight. I've been having a great time, clearing out dungeons and comparing stats of equipment, getting my loot, going back to town, doing my fishing. You gotta fish in those games. I've been running out of another thing that's happening playing Torchlight on the hardest difficulty is I've been running out of potions. You get your health potions and your mana potions, and on any other difficulty you're getting them faster than you're using them, so you end up with like a big stash of health potions. But with the harder difficulty, I keep running out. I keep having to buy more. So yeah, it's different. It's very different. It's good. I like it. I got to figure out how to apply mods to the original Torchlight, though. I don't remember how to do that anymore. And there isn't significant documentation either, which means I think it might be time for me to write another Steam guide. I've been proud of my work over the years, writing Steam guides here and there when I see like an opening for one or a need for one. I have some that have done very well, but I have some, more importantly, I have some that a few people have checked out, but I feel like filled a big hole in the knowledge base on Steam. Like the Falcon game, this really old CGI flight simulator, and it controls really wonky, so I was able to find a control scheme and do like a basic controls guide. Not super descriptive, but it took a lot of work to make, and now if you end up with that game in your Steam library, at the very least you can shift tab and figure out how to take off with your plane and fly around a little bit. I was proud of that. That's not a widely viewed guide, because Falcon's not a widely purchased game, but I'm proud of the hole that it fills. That's out there, because this is a game that's got, there's no other guides for that game. It's not like Sid Meier's Civilization, where you're going to load it up and there's going to be 40 different guides, or Team Fortress 2, where there's thousands of guides on each little facet of the game. This is my guide on how to play a medic using the quick fix and this very specific bone saw on this very specific map. No, we don't have that. There's none of that. It's like basic controls. Use the number pad. These buttons are for the throttle. Here's a screenshot of the control scheme on the Amiga. It seems like the PC version is pretty close to this. That's what we have. So, it might be time. Might be time to do another one. I don't know. Whenever I get the bug to do one of these guides, I think about half the time they actually get written. I had been, I sat down to write a guide 3 different times for Wizardry 6, and the guide was simply titled "What This Game Is and How to Have Fun with It." And it would be written from the perspective, or for the perspective of somebody who's younger or maybe isn't as familiar with a game like Wizardry 6. What were you expected to do? Why do you just wander around aimlessly? Maps? What are that? Why do I keep dying? I don't understand any of this. I even drafted like a lot, because to do a guide like that for Wizardry 6, you're going to have to break that down into sections. How mapping works, how creating a party works, and steps you should be taking in order to complete objectives. So that's a few different sections, and I just never quite got it together. I always felt like that was a guide that was needed. A game like Wizardry 6, super antiquated, but people ended up with it in their libraries anyway. Because it would be packaged in Wizardry 6, 7, and 8. I still see people on message boards asking where they should enter the Wizardry series or the Wizardry franchise. So I feel like that's a guide that would be looked at by some people. I'd like to collaborate with Sean on a guide like that. Sean actually put 70, 80 hours, whatever it is, into Wizardry 6, and he finished that game. So I feel like he would have a unique perspective on how it's done. But yeah, if I were back in my office right now, I'd play Torchlight. Hands down. No contest. That's what it would be. And with that, actually, one of the guys at the office was talking about, yesterday, was talking about playing a Sonic the Hedgehog mod for Doom. And I had heard of it previously. It was like a Sonic race mod or something like that. And it was all done in 3D, but it predated Sonic Adventure or something. The whole thing sounded very interesting. I kind of want to set that up, to be honest. But yeah, it would definitely be Torchlight if I were back in the studio right now. And with that, I'm gonna shoot you guys back to the studio. It's cold. I want to put my hands, on my chair where it's warm instead of freezing holding my phone. And I'll see you guys back in the back where it's warm. All right, boys and girls. We've got a little bit more from the van. We're already 40 minutes in this week, and I want to make sure everything gets out because I recorded Friday morning and I recorded a very short piece Friday afternoon. And the reason I did that was because there was big news that broke in the middle of the day on Friday. So we want to make sure and get to it. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's time to go to work. And let me tell you guys, it's a cold one. 6:14 in the morning, got out a couple minutes early today. It is all of 21 degrees outside. And you know what? That's cold. It's cold out. Oh my gosh. Stop being so cold. This weekend we're supposed to get up to 69 degrees, but it's going to be raining. Well, it is what it is. On my way to the office right now. I'm going to take a quick stop at the grocery store here when I get over to that part of town. Sun isn't up yet. I've been enjoying going to work with the sun peeking up over the trees, but I guess getting out just a few minutes early has made all the difference because it's still dark outside. So yesterday was my birthday. I turned 35 years old. Didn't do any recording that day. It was kind of nice. I got to work from home. After work I got to play some games, and I played some of the original Torchlight, which I'm playing through the original Torchlight on the hardest difficulty, and the further into the game I get, the easier it gets, because I found better gear. I'm dealing more damage. So I'm able to kind of walk through it at this point. But it's been fun anyway. I finally figured out how to get mods installed for the original Torchlight. Which there definitely needs to be a Steam guide for that, because it took a bit of searching. You got to put everything in the app data folder. And Windows 10 has that hidden by default. It's harder to find in Windows 10 than it is in Windows 7. You got to go in the folder options and make sure you uncheck the options, specific options that hide it, and then you got to search for it in the search bar. That's a pain. But it was cool to be able to modify the game, get some custom NPC merchants sitting in town, which is really the big one. One of the things that game has is you can buy a map from an NPC merchant, and it's usually an uncommon thing. Like the merchant will have one, maybe two of these maps, and the map, what the map does is when you use it, it opens a portal to a new unique level, and you can go in and clear the level out, and it's like a special mission. That's what the maps are. Essentially keys to special missions. And one of the things that the mods I installed did was it installed a new NPC that always has maps to sell. So you can just do these special map missions over and over again, as much as you want, which is kind of fun. All right, I'm at the grocery store. I'm gonna run in and get some hot tea and some I don't know what else. See you in a minute. All right, boys. I think we made it. I got some cheap black tea, and I got some. What kind of apples did I get? I think they're Gala apples. I forget already. I was looking at it. They sell these red, net bags of apples, And I'm always looking at the breeds, trying to figure out which one's the one to get. I was going back and forth between Gala and Fuji. I don't know which one I settled on. I already forgot. And I got some day-old bananas they sell in this paper bag. And it's like, I don't know, $1 for this bag. It's got like 10 bananas in it. But the catch is the bananas only have like, I don't know, they only got but so much time left on them. I think I might have to gas up as well. Alright, boys. I can't get to the gas station. It's blocked. Well, that's nice. Alright, we'll try another gas station in town. Maybe that'll work. What was I talking about? I spent this morning looking at music. I needed to get... it was my birthday. We'll circle back to my birthday. I wanted to get some more music for the car. Now, my car has an auxiliary port, so of course I can just plug my phone in. But especially right now, this time of year, when I come out in the morning and it's like really cold, I don't like messing with my phone too much in the car, so I'm still making like MP3 CDs. I burn them on my computer and I run them out here to my car. My car's got a 6-disc changer in it, so I can load it down pretty hard with just the discs. What did I make this morning? What I had been doing is looking at CDs in thrift stores, which is something I didn't do for a long time. I only looked at the CD section to look for video games. But I think it was Alex Swingle who kind of changed my mind about that. He was like, yeah, man, there's a lot of local music that ends up in those CD sections, and then it goes from there right into the trash compactor. He's like, all right, we'll take a look. So I looked at the CDs, and I picked up a few things. Like I got what's in my car right now? I got a live CD from the Violent Femmes, which I liked a lot. And then I also bought the big one from Soundgarden. I think it's called Super Unknown. The one that had all their hits on it. Like Black Hole Sun and all that. That was pretty cool because I never had that CD back when, when it was new in the early 90s. So that's it's like a weird trip listening to a song I've heard a million billion times on the radio, like Spoon Man, and then the very next song is a song I've never heard before ever in my life, which was a neat experience. It's a good album too. Soundgarden made some good tunes. It kind of shocked me how much I liked that album, actually. But let's see. I honestly can't look at what I printed out or burned this morning because I'm afraid I'll crash the car. But I know I got one of the old Chiptunes Equals Win volumes that I haven't listened to yet. It's like volume 4 or 5. And then there was the classical collection from Battle of the Bits that just came out a couple days ago. And then on top of that, those were the two big ones that I wanted. And then I got some filler. Some filler after that. I bought a Vaporwave collection from an artist called T.T. Slider. Was one of those. There was like 10 or 12 albums, and they were charging like 39 Australian cents or something, or 50 Australian cents. And it ended up being like 39 cents American. So I was just like, yeah, I'll pay the 39 cents. Adds it to my collection, and it also resets the artist's free downloads, so people can, more people can cruise through and just download them for free. So I got a couple of those on there as well, and that CD is just sitting here on the center console waiting to be put in when I'm done with the Vancast. So that should be cool. My wife got me a couple things for my birthday, which was super cool. She went to the used bookstore with my daughter, who is 5, and she had my daughter pick out records from the used bookstore, which is amazing. So I got like a little stack of records, probably like 3 or 4 records that are just like arbitrarily picked out by a 5-year-old. So I've got like the Fame soundtrack from the movie Fame from the 80s, which we enjoyed very much. And I got what looks like a folk album from somebody called like the Four Lads. And I can't remember what else. Oh yeah, and a Glenn Miller record. And then I can't remember what was after that. The Glenn Miller record should be really good though. I like Glenn Miller. And then my wife got me a little boombox. A newly manufactured boombox that can handle cassettes, which is pretty cool. Because I've got my tape deck and like my solid high-end stereo, but all that's in my office. So now I have a boombox that won't chew my tapes up, for downstairs or asleep, which is pretty cool. It's very cool, actually. I'm actually really into that. And that was pretty much it. I know there was a third package, but now I can't remember what it was. Oh well. But it was really cool, man. I got to hang out with the kids. We had Chinese food, which is something I enjoy, but very, very rarely actually eat. Got some Chinese food. We also got some ice cream cake. It was a good time, man. And now I'm off to work the following day. A buddy of mine's been playing the original EverQuest on Steam, and that's a big blast from the past, man. So I've got a copy of the old Prima strategy guide for EverQuest, and I'm gonna bring it into him and let him have it. That was really a game changer when that came out. My older brother bought a Gateway computer in the late 90s, 1998, I think it was. And it was like a hardcore gaming rig at the time. It had a Voodoo graphics card in it, so we could play the original Unreal and stuff. Very high-end rig. This is like right around the time that dedicated graphics cards were just sort of becoming a thing. And he bought EverQuest. Now, EverQuest in 1998 or 1999, whenever that was, came in an enormous cardboard box, like nothing I've ever seen before or since. It was a champion box. It was huge. I'll have to ask my brother if he still has it, because that would be cool to show off. Especially considering it's just like a free-to-play game on Steam now. But that game, I remember him explaining the concept to me. And like, yeah, you plug it in, it works over the modem, you get connected over AOL, and then you play this game, and everybody you see is a real person. This is my brother explaining what an MMO is for the very first time. I know EverQuest wasn't the first MMO, but it was the first time I ever encountered one. And I remember him explaining it to me and thinking, no way, that's not going to work. There's no way this game is going to work. You just wasted your money. And sure enough, he got it running. It's not the greatest MMO. I mean, the consequences for death were really, really high. Like, if you died, your corpse contained all your loot, and you respawned with nothing. And you had to try and make it back to your corpse, which was most of the time was impossible. So once World of Warcraft came out and there were no consequences for death, then that EverQuest kind of became a thing of the past. But it was cool, man. In its day, this was a game changer. This was the game that introduced me to MMOs. All right, boys and girls, I'm gonna gas up, so I will return to wrap this thing up in just a minute. All right, we are gassed up. And I'm hoping that's the last time I have to get out of my car before I get to work, because it's cold outside, man. Alright, now I just have to sit here and wait for my chance to get into traffic. Oh boy. tackle the usual question of what would I do if I were back home. Well, I got to play some Torchlight yesterday, so I think I might be ready to move on to some other kind of game, at least a little bit. What I haven't been able to play yet is Kane and Lynch 2. I finished, let's see, Alex Swingle and I finished Fear 3, and we're going to move on to Kane and Lynch 2, but I haven't played games with him in like almost a week, so I'm ready to play some Kane and Lynch 2. I think that'd be fun. Apart from that, I mean, just assuming I was at home and didn't have, any of my friends online, I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I try and avoid giving the answer I'd go back to sleep, but I think given the birthday party yesterday, that might actually be what I would do. Alright, hang on a second. Yeah, this is highway's pretty busy. It's 6:37 by this time, so I think I'm past the hours of okay, it's early on the highway and there's nobody here. Yeah, there's a lot of people on the highway right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here for safety's sake. I'll see you guys back in the studio. And just about 8.5 hours later, this happened. Alright boys, time for a Captain's Log supplemental. It's Thursday afternoon, 3:53. I'm on the road on the way home. I know I recorded a Vancast this morning, but something has developed today that I thought was worth talking about. Over on GOG.com, they announced the release of the original Diablo on GOG. And that is a bombshell. I had no idea this is going to happen. Here's the thing. Blizzard has never played ball with any of these companies before, like GOG or Steam or anything like that. So the fact that the original Diablo is now available on GOG kind of opens the door to other similar situations. Hoping it was going to go on Steam. Doesn't look like that's the case. It's not on Steam yet, as of today. That doesn't mean it won't show up in the future. But this is just the first Diablo. And I looked, I didn't see any articles, gleaming more information in terms of the deal required to make this thing possible. So I don't know for sure if it's just this game or, if we might see Diablo 2 in the future, anything like that. I think that would be awesome. So the original Diablo has been available on the Blizzard storefront for quite some time, but they charged $20 for it. And I know because I went looking for it about 6 months ago, and I found it there for sale for $20. So to be fair, it's been available for a long time. But now it's at $10, and it's on. Not only is it $10, but it's also $10 for a modernized version that's updated to work on Windows 10, and one that maintains BattleNet support. So you might have to go through BattleNet to do it, but if you buy it on GOG, you should be able to play it online with friends, which is really awesome. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of hoping that they do this with Diablo 2 as well. I got a hold of Diablo 2 on my older brother's computer years ago, around the time it came out. And I think this happened, I moved out of my mom's house at 17. So what I think happened was we got Diablo 2, and then shortly later I left home. So I didn't really get to dig into it. And I never really got to play Diablo 2 as much as everybody else. Like, I remember it being talked about at school. But I would kind of like to play that game. And I think it would be cool if it showed up on Steam and became available on a sale or something. I think that would be amazing. So Diablo is now available on GOG right now, and this comes at a weird time because I've been really into Torchlight, which is like Torchlight was the the original developers of Diablo moving on to make their own version. So, spiritual successor, and now the original actual game is available with all its expansions and stuff. So that's really neat. I'm on my way home now. The typical question of what would I do if I were able to turn around and go home, I don't know if that really applies. I certainly won't be able to play games when I get there, because I'll have to, be a dad and take care of my children and whatnot. But that's a little update I wanted to make sure and get recorded while it was fresh in my mind. I just found this out, and I found it out like in the middle of being busy with a bunch of different things. So I haven't bought it yet. I think I'm going to hold off a couple of weeks and just see if maybe it's one of those things where Steam is like right behind it. It could come out on GOG today and then like in a couple days on Steam. That's what happened with the Wizardry games. When Wizardry 6, 7, and 8 dropped on GOG originally, it was the same kind of deal. I didn't see it coming and it wasn't available anywhere else. And then shortly thereafter it was available on Steam, like in the same way. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the case here. At any rate, that's all I got. I'll see you guys back in the studio. We're back in the studio. You guys know what time it is. It's time for the fail bag. Pretty short fail bag this week. We got one from Mecha Menace over on YouTube, and we've got one from Darabka on a previous episode. So what I'm going to do is, oh my gosh, I've got to contend with another YouTube layout change, so bear with me. Let's do Darabka's comment first, provided that I can navigate to it. Give me a second here. Yeah, here we go. So this was on episode 251, which, to put it in context, came out like 5 months ago. That particular episode was entitled "The Face of Pure Rage," and it just had an image of our friend Alex Swingle. And he writes, "One of the best titles and title cards for a podcast. Lol, you will not like him when he's angry. Either way, here's my super late reply. You didn't really like Dungeon Keeper 1? I mean, I guess I have the nostalgia goggles for it, but I still think it's great. I can give you some pointers if you're having troubles with it. I used to play it a lot back in the day. DK2, Dungeon Keeper 2, is pretty cool too. And they did some cool changes. It might be a better entry into the series. I tried Quake World. I liked it at first, but the whole MOBA character style mechanic irritates me, so I uninstalled it. I think it's really cool that the ID FPS heroes are here, and it would be cool to have a co-op campaign with crazy cross-dimensional story, throw in Commander Keen and Dangerous Dave into the mix. But that probably won't happen. Still, it's cool that Doom Guy and Quake Guy, the Ranger, and BJ are in one game. What we really need is a Shadow Warrior Duke Nukem crossover game. But that will not happen either, I guess. I want to dive into the Ultimate games myself, but I was on that Wizardry kick, and now I'm playing Drak and Sang. So when it comes to RPGs, I might get burned out on them soon. Anyway, expect more comments coming your way from your older episodes. I've been enjoying them a lot. I also really enjoy the music choices in the last episodes I listened to too. Anyway, see you on the flip side. You know what, Sean? I really wish I knew what songs were played on those episodes, and I know I don't write it anywhere, which is something I've been changing recently. I try to put a little bit of artwork, something in the thumbnail, something that says, hey, this is what I play. I have no idea what I was playing on TCR 5 months ago. No clue. As far as Shadow Warrior and Duke Nukem being in a game together, I think that would be amazing. They came really close. There was something called the East Meets West pack that they sold, that where it was back in the days of the big box PC games, and it had Shadow Warrior and it had Duke Nukem in it together in a single box. They weren't in the game together, but that was pretty close. Now I remember my older brother got me. He didn't get me that, but what he bought me was Shadow Warrior in the big box, sold with Duke Nukem Atomic Edition also in the big box, and they were side by side shrink wrapped together. So those are games that they have been closely tied together for quite some time. I think those two games, along with Blood, they're not interchangeable. I mean, they're separate, distinct games, but they're so closely related. I would like to see, like, maybe even a user could do this, like a best of, where you have a special campaign where you play, like, the first level and a half as Duke, and then you got to play another level as as Shadow Warrior, you play 2 levels as Lo Wang. So you play Duke for 2 levels, then you play Lo Wang for 2 levels, and then you play 2 levels as Caleb from Blood. And at the end of the campaign, as Caleb, you have to kill Duke Nukem and Lo Wang from Shadow Warrior. There you go. So all 3 well-known build game heroes would be in a single game that would end in a memorable bloodbath. That's just my little concept idea that I came up with. But yeah, I would be very much down to see those guys together in a game. Anyway, I made sure to leave you a text comment about this because I know you're probably not going to hear this for quite a while. What else did you talk about? Dungeon Keeper. I haven't been in to play Dungeon Keeper in quite some time. And to be fair, I only played it for maybe like a half hour, somewhere between a half hour and an hour. So hey, I would try it again. I think that would be fun. We could do it on a stream, where you can. I would play the game on a stream, and you could sit in and guest host, and then you could be like giving me my tech support. All right, this is what you click on. This is what you're trying to do. Go here, do that, and then we could have some fun. I would definitely be down to do something crazy like that. People love that game, man. This is one of those things where there's definitely, with the Dungeon Keeper series, there's definitely a love there amongst the fans of that game. And I know the Bullfrog games have their own special brand of talent. I know that because I was a fan of Theme Hospital, which was also a Bullfrog game. So yeah, there's a good game in there somewhere. I get that feeling. I just haven't got there. That's all it is. Good to hear from you, man. Oh, yeah. What else did you say? 6 hours ago, he writes, I never thought Blizzard would re-release Diablo 1, and if then, on Battle.net, it's a bombshell for sure. Yeah, it really is. Diablo's out on GOG.com, and my mind is absolutely blown. It's blown. And what kills me is, when did that happen? I think I recorded that on Thursday. It's Friday night. It hasn't come out on Steam yet. I mean, it's only been a day, but there's still... Steam doesn't have it. It's only on GOG. And it didn't take long. There's the video. There's a lot of videos of people who agree with me saying, "Oh man, I can't believe it. GOG's got Diablo." And you know what? I can't either. All right, over on episode 275, that was last week. We got one from Mecha Menace, who writes in. Here's a non sequitur you might enjoy. Solar Striker is one of those early GBW games. What was that? Game Boy. What does the W stand for? Game Boy World? Game Boy White. One of those early GBW games, which Gunpei Yokoi had a hand in making. Okay. It's funny. I don't know much about Yokoi's work apart from the Wonder Swan. I know he was big with the Nintendo company up until the Virtual Boy, but I really don't know much about his Nintendo exploits. Just the Wonder Swan and death in a car accident. That's really my knowledge of Gunpei Yokoi. All right, so he goes on. LibreOffice, eh? Some of those hefty open source programs have performance issues and a lot of design issues. I freaking hate GIMP. Can we all agree editing in Audacity sucks too? If you're just doing text and possibly quick editing for code or HTML, I recommend using Notepad++. Lot to unpack here. Okay, Mecha Menace, my man. Notepad++ I use very often. Actually, I use it on a daily basis. Notepad++ is an absolutely indispensable program. Especially, there is a plugin, and I don't know what it's called, but Control-Alt-D, and you can have 2 tabs in Notepad++, and it will compare them. And you'll see a quick bar, which will light up the portions that are different. All right. So if you're working on a procedure that's very old and very bloated and has a lot of pages and a lot of lines of code, like say you're making a small change to a sheet of code with 5,000 lines of code on it, which is something that happens quite often. You make your change to the code, and then you can submit your updated code along with the original unchanged code, and now the tester, you can just Control-Alt-D, zero in on that one specific part, and Notepad++ will light up the differences and make it very easy to compare the two. It's something that I use all the time. Absolutely indispensable feature. Notepad++ has it. It's not native to the program, but it's a plugin that I believe you can get from within the program by doing the plugin manager. It's great. It's great software. It really is. As far as performance issues, I find that LibreOffice and even GIMP, those programs can be good if you know exactly what you need to do and you're willing to jump through a couple more hoops to do it. For example, using GIMP, I used to use GIMP to do the thumbnails for TCR. I did for a little while. And I found that you could still make text with a stroke over, like a stroke outline, the way you can in Photoshop. But it's you have to go to the menu, do a special option that highlights just the text. Then you have to go to the menu again and inflate that by like 5 pixels. Then you have to do another option to fill that with black ink. Then you have to do another layer to drop that behind the layer of the text. This is something you can do in Photoshop with just a couple of clicks, but in GIMP it takes like 15 to 20 clicks. And that's kind of the way GIMP is. If you know exactly what you want to do and you got a little time to do some Googling, you can get it done, but it's going to take you some time. LibreOffice, I've had a much friendlier time with. It's not as powerful as Microsoft Office is. That's for sure. I'm pretty good with Microsoft Office, there's some things that I don't think you can do in LibreOffice, particularly with the table of contents, generating a table of contents very easily. I don't know. I bet LibreOffice could do it, but it'd probably be a lot like GIMP. You'd have to jump through the hoops and take your time and figure it out. But, hey man, that's the way it is. And you said editing in Audacity sucks. You know what? I disagree with that one. Editing with Audacity has its problems, but Audacity is the king of these free programs. It's the king. I would consider it if there was an audio program that I had to pay for that did Audacity's job better. Like if there was an audio editing program that I could buy with money to make TCR better, I would consider it. But right now, I think Audacity is the best program for that job because it hasn't changed much in the 10 years that TCR has been on the air. It really is very, very close to what it was back, in the very beginning. And I can use it very quickly, and it does the job. I don't know of anybody who uses anything else, really. Not unless you start getting into digital audio workstations, and that's not really for podcasting. That'd be more for like creating music, that sort of thing. I know some people will use Open Broadcaster, OBS, and then just make a video, and then you can take the video and export it to audio, and that works fine too. But if I were to do that with this format, I would have to play all the songs in real time, which would be a problem because I generally have a dedicated sit down where it's like, okay, in this particular sitting, I'm going to do nothing but comb through the music. I'm going to find what I'm listening to right now. I'm going to pop over to Bandcamp and see if I can get anything new. It's a dedicated music session. So when I come to record, I've already got songs picked out. I can just drop them right in, right? And that way I can kind of keep the flow a little bit, depending on what's going on on that particular week. That's not the way it was this week because this has been a Vancast heavy week, and that's, a lot of times that's the way it is because my wife is pregnant and every moment at home is very, very busy. But I digress. Audacity has its drawbacks, but I think, we'll put it to you this way, Mecha Menace. If I were to compare Audacity, GIMP, and LibreOffice, I would say Audacity is the best of those three programs at what it does. I would say Audacity is a better audio editing program than GIMP is an image editing program. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think because I haven't really heard your opinion on these things. And that's the end of the fail bag. That's all I got. And we're an hour and 15 minutes in. To be honest, I've got more to go over, but I don't have any more time. I've got to produce this. I've got to get this produced and get it out. I'm 35 years old now. You guys know what that sound means. It's time to wrap up for the week. The retro junk box didn't quite make it to my house this week, but we're going to go over that next week, and it'll be a lot of fun. Special thanks to Sendu for sending it over. Much love, brother. Don't worry about a thing. It's a-okay that it's a little bit late. To be honest, I didn't have time to go over it this week anyway, so it works out. What else is going on this coming week? Lots of stuff, you know. I'm standing my ground, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope out there in podcast land you guys are doing the same thing. So, if you're listening to this, let me know. Let me know you're still out there, because I'm seeing the numbers. I know you guys are listening. Let me know if you need me to do anything different. To be perfectly honest, hold on a second. There we go. I'll kick it back in a second. There's just something I wanted to mention. To be perfectly honest, I read an article over on Reddit. It was a topic and simply entitled, "What Turns You Off to Podcasts?" And I was reading it, and it was a thing that I'm guilty of. It was a big, long list of stuff that I'm guilty of, particularly like slurping and eating on the air, which I've done in this episode. So I was reading this thing, and it really spooked me really hard, to the point where I wanted to go over this on the air. We'll probably do that next week, because it's an hour and 15 minutes in. There's no time now. So let me know. My goodness, you precious few who enjoy hanging out with me here on TCR. Let me know if you have any real feedback or anything you want to see changed. I know it can be hard after 10 years to teach an old dog new tricks, but my goodness, I'm still trying. And with that, now, 1 hour and 17 minutes in, we're going to hang it up. You know, sometimes life is difficult. That's just the way it is. So I want to take a minute to encourage you before we sign off that whatever difficulties it is you're facing, just charge right through. And don't let it beat you, because it's worth pushing through and coming out okay on the other side. And I know that sometimes it doesn't work out very well, but I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. And whatever happens, I'll see you next Monday. Best of luck.